Have you ever noticed that the harder you try to achieve something, the further it seems to slip out of your reach? And yet, the paradox is this: when you loosen your grip, when you allow yourself to live fully in the present moment, what you truly need often comes to you naturally. This is the secret that Zen Buddhism has taught for thousands of years, the art of having everything without the need to possess it. In today's video, we are going to explore 10 Zen principles that can transform your life into one of fulfillment and peace, by doing the exact opposite of what you might normally think. There is a very well-known saying in Zen: before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. This simple phrase actually holds a profound truth. The external world does not change. Life will always have joy and sorrow, success and failure, ups and downs, just as it always has. What truly changes is your perspective, how you see, how you feel, how you face and walk through life. Before enlightenment, everything you do may be driven by ambition, by your desire for results, by the fear that you are not enough, that you must achieve more, succeed, gain recognition, or reach some final destination before you can finally feel at peace. But after enlightenment, you still chop wood, you still carry water, you still do the ordinary daily tasks of life. The only difference is that your heart is no longer dragged around by endless desires, nor controlled by fear or expectation. Instead, you experience completeness in every breath, every step, every simple task. It may sound paradoxical, but this is the very essence of happiness. The secret is not in changing the entire world, but in changing your relationship with it. And that is also the spirit of the 10 Zen Buddhist principles we will explore together in this journey. Principles that not only help you understand life on a deeper level, but also open the way for you to have everything you desire, in the most effortless, natural, and serene way. The first principle Zen Buddhism teaches us is this: stop resisting the flow. Imagine holding a handful of sand in your palm. At first, the grains rest easily in your hand, but the more you fear losing them, the tighter you squeeze, and the more they slip away through your fingers, until in the end your hand is empty. Life works the same way. The more we try to control everything, the more we demand that life follow our expectations, the more disappointment and suffering we create for ourselves. A Zen master once said, "Let go, or be dragged." If we cling to the idea that life must always bend to our will, reality will drag us along, leaving us exhausted and in pain. But when we learn to loosen our grip, to accept that some things cannot be held or forced, a lightness arises within us. And paradoxically, it is at that very moment that what we need often comes to us naturally. Think of learning how to ride a bicycle. At first, you hold the handlebars tight, straining every muscle to stay balanced. But the more tense you are, the more the bike wobbles. Only when you let yourself relax and trust your body's natural rhythm does the bike glide smoothly and effortlessly. Life is no different. When we stop trying to control every detail and instead trust the process, trust that every experience has its own value, we find ourselves moving through life with greater steadiness and ease. This does not mean abandoning goals or giving up ambition. It means shifting your attitude. You still walk your path. You still work. You still pursue your dreams. But you are no longer chained to a single outcome. You act from a place of trust, not fear. And when you live this way, Not only do you feel less tired and less disappointed, but you also open yourself up to unexpected joys and rewards that you may never have imagined. Because true happiness does not come from forcing the river to flow in your direction. It comes from learning to flow with the river. To notice that every bend, every wave, every reflection of light on the water has its own unique beauty. Stopping resistance to the flow does not mean abandoning your dreams or surrendering to fate. It means learning to distinguish between genuine effort and blind force. Think of life as a great river, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, sometimes quiet, sometimes fierce. If you keep trying to swim against the current, fighting every wave, you will eventually collapse from exhaustion. But if you learn to let go and use the power of the water to carry you, you preserve your energy and travel farther with ease. That is the spirit of Zen. Instead of wasting your mind trying to force events to fit your will, you learn to adjust your attitude, to respond flexibly, to flow with life. Then, even the unexpected turns and the crashing waves, which once seemed to knock you off course, reveal themselves as opportunities to learn, to grow, and to see the richness of life in a new way. Think back to the times you worried endlessly about an exam, an interview, or a relationship. The more you clung to it, the more nervous you became, and the more your words and actions lost their natural flow. And often, the results were not what you hoped for. But when you prepared just enough, then let go and allowed things to unfold, you often found yourself performing better, speaking more smoothly, acting more confidently, and achieving more favorable results. That is why the lesson of this first principle is: give your best effort. But do not let the craving for results consume your soul. Walk your path, but allow the road to twist and turn. Instead of demanding that it be perfectly straight, it is like rowing a boat. You still hold the oars. You still move forward. But instead of insisting that the water be perfectly calm, you learn to move in harmony with the waves. Each stroke of the oar becomes part of a rhythm, part of the great music of the ocean. That is the true art of living peacefully, not controlling everything, but mastering your own heart in the face of everything. In fact, when we spend our lives trying to control every detail, we lose not only our energy and opportunities, but also our inner peace. Do you remember the last time you lost sleep, worrying endlessly that tomorrow would not go as planned? You tried to calculate every possible outcome, but in the end, things still turned out differently. And what was left? Exhaustion, frustration, and perhaps even self-blame. That is the trap of control. We think holding the steering wheel tighter will make the road safer. But in reality, the stiffness only makes us more likely to lose balance. Meanwhile, those who trust the flow often find joy in the journey itself, even when the outcome is not what they expected. Like a surfer, you cannot demand that the ocean be calm, nor that the waves rise exactly when you want them to. All you can do is observe the rhythm, move with it, and turn each ride into a dance with the sea. Life works the same way. Instead of trying to control every person, every event, every opportunity, we can learn to observe, to listen, and to adapt. When we do this, obstacles stop being walls that block us, and instead become steps that lift us higher, giving us new perspectives. So, stopping resistance to the flow does not mean abandoning responsibility or leaving everything to fate. It means acting wholeheartedly, while freeing your soul from being trapped in a single result. If success comes, You smile with gratitude. If failure appears, you take it as a teacher, offering lessons without pulling you into despair. When your heart is steady in this way, that is when you are truly free. When you walk lightly on your own path. And that is when you realize that the true miracle is not in how much you achieve, but in the fact that every moment you live is whole, clear, and serene, just like the river that keeps flowing, never stopping. At a deeper level, stopping resistance to the flow is about learning to trust that life always has its own rhythm. A subtle arrangement that our limited minds cannot always see right away. Many times, we believe we are heading in the wrong direction, that a closed door is unfair, or that a failure marks the end. But when we look back later, we are often astonished to realize that what once seemed like a tragedy was actually a turning point that opened up a greater path, filled with more opportunities and deeper meaning. Think of someone who missed out on the job they desperately wanted. At first, they felt devastated, blaming themselves and resenting life. Yet, precisely because that door closed, they discovered a different field, found their true passion, and eventually became more successful than they had ever imagined. Life works this way. When we stubbornly demand that everything must happen according to our will, we make ourselves victims of disappointment. But when we dare to let go, to accept that perhaps the universe holds something beyond our imagination, we create the space for those new possibilities to arrive. Like water, life always finds a way to flow through the cracks between the rocks. No matter how many dams you build, the current will always find its own path. And if you learn to move with it, not only do you save your strength, but you are carried farther. What truly matters is the transformation within, shifting from clinging to trusting, from rigidity to softness, from demanding to receiving. When this shift happens, each day no longer feels like a battle against reality, but becomes a dance with life itself. And it is in that very moment, when you stop resisting the flow, that you begin to truly understand the meaning of serenity. This serenity is an inner freedom that does not depend on where you are, what you have, or where you are going, but only on how you allow yourself to move with the eternal rhythm of the universe. In love and relationships, the principle of stopping resistance to the flow becomes even clearer. Have you ever tried to hold on too tightly to someone, afraid that if you let go, they would leave, so you controlled every message, every call, every little action? Yet the more you tried to control, the more suffocating the relationship became, and the greater the distance grew between the two of you. True love is like a bird. When you open your hands, it flies free, and sometimes it returns to you with its whole heart. But if you lock it in a cage, love withers, losing its vitality. Life works the same way. We cannot force everything to stay with us forever, because all things are impermanent and ever-changing. Wisdom lies not in clinging, but in allowing people, events, and opportunities to follow their natural course. A door that closes, a person who leaves, a job that falls apart, all may seem like endings in the short term, but they are also beginnings of something new. When we stop panicking, stop struggling to swim against the current, and instead pause, breathe, and watch the river flow, we begin to see that it always carries us to another shore, where new experiences, lessons, and even unexpected joys await. Stopping resistance to the flow does not mean sitting idly by or giving up responsibility. It means acting with an open heart, trusting that the final outcome, even if it is different from what we hoped for, still carries a deeper meaning. And when you live with this trust, your heart grows lighter, your eyes see life with compassion, and every moment you experience, whether easy or difficult, becomes part of the great music called life. It is in this state that you no longer feel like you are merely struggling to survive, but instead, you begin to experience the full meaning of what it means to truly live. In our careers, we often trap ourselves in the same illusion of control. We make plans, draw maps, and convince ourselves that as long as we follow each step exactly, success will surely come. But life never follows the script we have in our minds. Sometimes we lose a job opportunity we have prepared months for. Sometimes a project that seemed perfect collapses at the last minute. Or a path we thought was the only way forward suddenly closes right before our eyes. In those moments, it feels as if the sky has fallen, as if all our efforts were wasted, as if life is unfair. But with time, we often realize that those very setbacks led us to another path, one that brought us more meaning, more passion, and even greater success. Life is like a vast forest. We walk with a map in hand, believing we already know the way. But the real path is full of unexpected turns. Sometimes it feels like we are lost. Yet in truth, it is those winding paths that lead us to breathtaking views the map never showed. The key is not to force the forest to open a straight road for us, but to keep an open heart, ready to explore each turn, trusting that even if it does not match our plan, every path can bring a new lesson or a new treasure. When we stop trying to control every detail, when we allow the flow of our work and career to guide us, we come to understand that success is not a fixed destination, but a state of mind we carry along the journey. Then we realize that happiness does not come from controlling everything, but from embracing every experience, even failures, as perfect pieces of the larger picture of life. That is why stopping resistance to the flow does not make us weaker. On the contrary, it makes us steadier, more serene, and sometimes, it even brings success to us with ease, like an unexpected gift born from the simple act of letting go. The second principle that Zen Buddhism teaches us is this: care deeply, but hold lightly. This is one of the most misunderstood lessons, because many people think that letting go means indifference, neglect, or detachment from life. But in Zen, letting go does not mean turning your back on life. It means giving your whole heart to each moment, being fully dedicated to your work, loving sincerely the people around you, but without turning the result or the response into chains that bind your soul. Imagine a musician standing on stage. They have practiced for months, pouring all their emotion into every note. And when they begin to sing or play, they are no longer thinking about whether the audience will applaud, whether anyone will praise them tomorrow. They are simply immersed in the music itself, living fully in every sound, every rhythm, every breath. It is precisely this way of caring deeply but holding lightly that makes the performance pure and moving, far more than any calculated perfection ever could. In life, it is the same. When we give our best to what we do, we show care, responsibility, and genuine love. But when the outcome does not align with our expectations, we do not drown in disappointment, nor bind ourselves with the obsession of, why did it not turn out the way I wanted? Instead, we smile, accept it, and move on. This is not indifference, it is wisdom. It is what keeps the heart open. Because if our minds remain trapped in fixed expectations, we lose the joy of the present and the freshness of the journey. When we learn to care deeply about our actions while at the same time holding lightly the outcome, we become like a sailboat at sea, still catching the wind, still strong and determined, but not demanding the ocean to remain calm. Instead, we let the wind take us as far as it can, and we even accept that sometimes the storms may carry us to horizons we never planned to see. This delicate balance allows our hearts to be both passionate and serene, both devoted and free, and in this very state, what we truly desire often finds its way to us, like an unexpected gift, because our souls are no longer closed off by expectations, but open to receive everything. In love, the principle of caring deeply but holding lightly becomes clearer than ever. So many people, out of intense love, unintentionally turn love into chains. They try to control every message, every word, every step of the other person, believing it is care, when in truth it is possession disguised as affection. When love is bound by the fear of loss, it loses its natural beauty, becoming forced and suffocating. True love, on the other hand, is when you care deeply for the other person, wishing them happiness and peace, yet you still allow them the freedom to be themselves. You give them the space to fly, to breathe, to live authentically. That kind of lightness does not weaken love. It strengthens it, because the bond between two people then comes not from chains of control, but from the freedom of walking side by choice. The same is true in work. If we only work for recognition or achievements, our minds will always be restless. Will the boss praise me? Will my colleagues acknowledge me? Will I get promoted? This attachment to the outcome fills us with anxiety, fear, and eventually exhaustion. But if we care deeply about the quality of our work, pour our hearts into every detail, and yet release the expectation of external validation, then work becomes joy. It becomes an opportunity to express ourselves, instead of a stressful race. In that moment, we work like an artisan, not to show off the final piece, but simply for the joy of creating. Daily life is no different. Whether caring for a small plant, cooking a meal, or cleaning a room, if we do it with presence and sincerity, every action carries joy and meaning, even if no one sees or praises it. This is exactly the state of living that Zen emphasizes: wholehearted but not bound, devoted but not resentful, loving but not demanding. It is the art of living freely within commitment, lightly within effort, and it is this very balance that allows us to enjoy the depth of life without losing the serenity of the soul. Caring deeply but holding lightly is also reflected beautifully in the world of artists and athletes, people who dedicate their entire lives to practice, to pouring their energy into each performance or competition, yet who also understand that if they obsess over victory or recognition, they paralyze themselves. A violinist may spend thousands of hours training their fingers, perfecting every rhythm, polishing every piece, but when they step onto the stage, if their mind is only on the applause, their hands will tremble, their sound will lose its smoothness, and their soul will no longer soar with the music. Only when they release that craving, when they let their spirit dissolve into the melody, allowing the instrument to become the heartbeat of their soul, does the concert hall fall into silence, and tears of emotion begin to fall. The same is true for athletes. They may train day and night, preparing with every ounce of energy. But in the decisive moment, if their minds are consumed by the medal, by the glory, their bodies tighten, their movements lose fluidity, and failure comes easily. On the other hand, the most successful athletes are those who can place their entire focus on the present moment. Every step, every breath, every strike, every heartbeat. They care deeply about the action itself, but they do not allow themselves to be chained to the result. This is why they often enter the state psychologists call flow, the current, where time seems to stop, where body and mind become one, and performance reaches its highest level naturally. Our spiritual lives function in the same way. If we care deeply about our relationships, our work, our daily moments, with sincerity, but at the same time release rigid expectations, life becomes easier, lighter, more peaceful. Caring deeply gives us the motivation to move forward. Holding lightly keeps us from being trapped or suffocated by the very things we pursue. These two qualities may seem opposite, but when combined, they create the perfect balance, like a bird needing both strength and grace to fly, like water needing both softness and persistence to carve its way through rock. And in that very state, we finally understand what it means to love without binding, to work without tension, to live fully yet remain free. In the relationship between parents and children, the principle of caring deeply but holding lightly carries a very special meaning. Every parent loves their child immensely, wishing them safety, success, and happiness, but sometimes, that great love transforms into control and imposition. Parents want their children to follow the path they design, to study a certain field, to pursue a certain career, to behave in a certain way, believing it is for their own good. In truth, however, this tight grip unintentionally strips away the child's freedom to grow, suffocating their young spirit, and sometimes even creating distance in the family bond. True mature love is not one of control, but of deep care paired with the lightness of allowing children to live as their authentic selves. Parents can nurture, guide, and support with all their hearts, but at the same time, they must know when to step back, to let their children walk on their own, to stumble, and to learn their own lessons. It is like a gardener. They cannot pull on a plant to make it grow faster. They can only water, tend, and provide the right conditions. Then trust nature's rhythm, that the plant will rise and bloom in its own time. The deep care of parents is the fertile soil. The lightness is the sunlight that gives the young tree space to grow straight and strong. When these two combine, a child can truly flourish, feeling the vast love of their parents, while also learning independence and responsibility for their own life. And in this process, parents also find peace. They no longer live with constant worry or heavy comparisons. Instead, they rest in the serene trust that they have given all their love, and the rest is for the child to write their own story. This is the true maturity of both parent and child, a love deep enough to give everything, yet wide enough to let go when needed, so that both can live freely within that genuine love. Caring deeply but holding lightly is not only for love or work, it is also the core principle of how we treat ourselves. The truth is, many of us spend our lives chasing the perfect image set by society, family, or even ourselves. A perfect body, a flawless career, a life without mistakes. We care about ourselves, but we do it in a rigid, harsh way, draining our spirits and exhausting our hearts. We force ourselves to succeed before the age of 30, to buy a house before 40, to live a life admired by others. And every time we fall short, we blame ourselves, torture ourselves, and sometimes spiral into inferiority or depression. This is caring without knowing how to hold lightly. Zen teaches us that true care for ourselves is not about forcing ourselves to be someone else. It is about listening sincerely. When the body is tired, let it rest. When the mind is overwhelmed, let it breathe. When the heart is sad, let it cry. Deep care is when we cherish every feeling, every limit, every heartbeat. Holding lightly is when we accept that we do not need to be perfect, we only need to be authentic. And that is the moment we realize we are already enough. It is like someone training for health. If they care, they exercise regularly, eat well, and rest properly. But if they obsess over six-pack abs, over every single gram of weight, then their care turns into torture. The joy of movement disappears, replaced by compulsion. Only when they care enough but release expectation does exercise become joy again, a gift to the body, rather than a burden to the soul. And so it is with every part of life. If we can be both devoted and generous toward ourselves, we live more easily, more freely, more lovingly. Then we no longer chase the ideal image imposed by others, but live fully as our true selves. And this authenticity becomes our strength. It becomes the light that radiates out into the world. The third principle in Zen Buddhism may sound paradoxical: chase less, receive more. Life often teaches us that if we want something, we must try our hardest, chase it to the very end, never stop pursuing the goal. Yet the more we chase, the more exhausted we feel, and the goal seems to drift further away, like a cloud dissolving in the sky. There is an old saying: the tighter you hold, the easier it slips away; the lighter you hold, the more it stays. Imagine chasing a butterfly. The faster you run after it, the farther it flies, dodging your every move. But if you sit quietly in the garden, enjoying the breeze and the fragrance of flowers, the butterfly may suddenly land gently on your shoulder. The most precious things in life often come when we are not clinging, not desperate to the point of losing our inner stillness. How many people have said they found true love not when they were desperately searching for it, not when they were obsessed with having a partner, getting married, or proving themselves, but when they simply lived authentically, nurturing their joy, their passions, and their daily work? And it was in that very authenticity and naturalness that they met someone in harmony with their soul, gently and unexpectedly. The same is true in work. When we devote ourselves fully but without obsession over results, outcomes often surpass our expectations. Think of a writer. If they sit down with the thought, "I must create a masterpiece," the pen grows heavy, the words become stiff. But if they simply sit down to write, to listen to their heart, to tell a story simply and sincerely, then that very simplicity and sincerity touch the reader. The work becomes a masterpiece in the most natural way. Zen teaches us, happiness cannot be pursued as a goal, because it is not something outside of us. It is a state that arises when our hearts rest in the present moment. When we live true to our authentic nature, the more we chase happiness, the more it runs away. But when we stop, happiness is already here, in every breath. every step, every drop of cool water. Chase less, receive more, is ultimately a lesson in trust. Trust that what truly belongs to us will arrive at the right time. Trust that when we live wholeheartedly, the rewards, whether love, success, or joy, will naturally come as a consequence. And when we understand this, life no longer feels like a weary race, but becomes a journey of enjoyment, where every step brings unexpected joy. This principle does not only apply to love or spiritual life, but also to careers, where many of us are most easily trapped by ambition, competition, and the urge to prove ourselves. We often believe that only by working day and night, by endlessly competing with others, by relentlessly chasing titles, money, and recognition, can we achieve success. But paradoxically, the more we chase, the more likely we are to burn out, to lose our joy, and even to lose ourselves. There are people who spend decades climbing toward their dream position, only to feel empty once they get there, because their entire journey was nothing but running. And they forgot the meaning of what they were doing. On the other hand, some of the most successful people are those who never set out to become someone important. They simply did the work they loved, lived fully with passion, and allowed success to arrive naturally as a byproduct. A chef who loves cooking does not prepare meals just to earn a Michelin star. They simply want to bring a heartfelt experience to their guests, from their hands to their table. An athlete does not train only to win medals, but because they love the feeling of running with the wind, breathing deeply, and being fully alive in their body. And it is often these people, those who are not obsessed with results, who achieve greatness beyond expectations. Because the energy they radiate is authentic, natural, and touches the hearts of others. Chase less, receive more, teaches us that sometimes we do not need to calculate every step. Do not need to craft overly complex strategies. Do not need to live in the anxiety of, if I do not achieve this, I will fail. All we need is sincerity, to work wholeheartedly, to love with all our hearts, to live true to ourselves. When we do that, what needs to come will come. In its own time, like a seed. You cannot pull on it to make it sprout faster. But if you patiently nurture it, water it, and trust, one day it will rise, bloom, and bear fruit, and often, the result is more beautiful than anything we imagined. In spiritual life, this principle becomes even more evident. Happiness is not an object we can buy, not a goal we can demand. It is a natural state that arises when our hearts rest in the present. The more we search for happiness, the more distant it feels. The more we try to cling to peace, the more restless we become. Many people spend their lives thinking, only when I have more money, more recognition, more success will I be happy. Yet when they finally achieve those things, they still feel empty, quickly setting new goals, continuing the endless cycle of desire. Meanwhile, some people never speak of happiness, never make it their goal. They live simply, waking early to breathe in fresh air, sipping a warm cup of tea, working with presence, returning home in the evening to share laughter with family, then going to bed in contentment. And these are the ones who are truly happy, because they are not chasing, not clinging, just living. Zen teaches, happiness is like a shadow, the more you chase it, the further it runs. But when you stop and live fully in the moment, the shadow is right there with you, That is why Zen masters often say, do not ask where happiness is. Ask if you are truly living. When we learn to stop chasing happiness, and instead simply be present with each breath, each step, we realize that happiness has always been here, within us, around us, never leaving us. It is like gazing at a flower. If you rush to take a photo just to show off, you miss its delicate fragrance. But if you pause, breathe deeply, and truly observe its petals, its colors, its light, you experience its beauty fully, without needing anything else. Life is the same. The less we chase distant things, the more we release heavy burdens, the more we receive, more peace, more simple joys, more precious moments we once overlooked. And then we understand, happiness is not the final destination, but a silent companion walking with us all along, just waiting for us to pause, to turn, and to smile. There is a small story that beautifully illustrates the spirit of chase less, receive more. In a mountain village, there was a farmer who worked tirelessly on his fields his entire life. Yet year after year, he felt disappointed because his harvests were never as abundant as he had hoped. The harder he worked, the more exhausted he became. He planted earlier, watered more, spread fertilizer more heavily, even prayed for the heavens to bless him with perfect weather. But the more he forced and pushed, the less he gained. His body grew weary, and he lost all joy in farming. One day, he met a Zen master passing through and complained, "I have done everything. Why does the sky still not give me the results I want?" The Zen master smiled and said, "You do not need to do everything. You only need to do what is truly necessary, and let nature take care of the rest." The farmer thought about this. The following year, he simply prepared the soil well, planted at the right season, watered just enough, and then allowed the sun, the wind, the rain, and the earth to nurture the seeds in their own way. Strangely enough, that year his crops flourished. His rice fields bent heavy with grain, and he realized that it was precisely when he stopped trying to control every detail that abundance arrived. This simple story is a clear reminder. Often the more we force, the further results drift away. But when we learn to do enough and then let go, success often comes naturally. Life is the same. We can study hard, work diligently, invest in relationships, but if our hearts are constantly tense, constantly anxious, will this succeed? Will they love me? Then the joy of the journey disappears. But when we learn to enjoy each step, to work with presence and joy, without clinging too tightly to results, then success, love, and happiness often come lightly, like an unexpected gift. That is the essence of Zen: less chasing, more receiving, less forcing, more serenity, less anxiety, more happiness. And when we understand this, we no longer need to run breathlessly on the road of seeking. Instead, we can walk with ease, where every step is already an accomplishment, and every breath is already happiness. In modern society, especially for young people, the principle of chase less, receive more is more important than ever. We live in a world that is always racing. Social media constantly tells you that you must be rich. You must travel everywhere. You must have the perfect body. You must marry early. You must succeed before 30, or else you are falling behind. These invisible pressures trap many young people in constant fear, always chasing achievements, always comparing themselves to others. And the more they run, the more out of breath they feel. As if life is a race without a finish line. They chase too much, too many goals, too many dreams, too many must-haves, until their minds are suffocated. Paradoxically, the more they chase, the less joy they actually feel. Because happiness is not found in how many boxes you check off a list. It is found in whether you truly lived each moment along the way. There are young people who spend years starting businesses, building wealth, achieving everything they thought would make them happy, yet end up sitting in a luxury apartment feeling empty. Because somewhere along the way, joy was left behind. In contrast, others do not compete frantically. They choose to pursue only one thing they truly love, and live fully with it. And by doing so, they receive far more serenity, more love, more success that comes naturally, beyond what they could have planned. In truth, chase less does not mean giving up effort or abandoning ambition. It means knowing how to choose, knowing what truly matters, what is truly valuable, and giving all your energy to that, while letting go of the superficial. When we focus our hearts on what is meaningful, life becomes simpler, our minds clearer, and in that clarity, the good things naturally flow to us, like water finding its way downhill. If young people today can understand this, they will stop running blindly in an endless race. Instead, they will walk a more selective, focused, and peaceful journey, and in that way, every achievement, no matter how small, becomes a complete joy. Because it is no longer the result of desperate chasing, but the natural fruit of a simple, fulfilling life. The fourth principle in Zen Buddhism is this: conquer yourself. Most people think strength is about conquering others, controlling the world, winning competitions out there. But Zen teaches that the strongest person is not the one who can defeat thousands, but the one who can master themselves. Because the most dangerous enemy does not live outside of us, but within. Sudden bursts of anger, vague fears, endless desires, and quiet negative thoughts that erode us every day. If we cannot govern these impulses, then even if we hold the whole world in our hands, we are still defeated, chained by our own minds. The story of Viktor Frankl, a Jewish psychologist who survived the Nazi concentration camps, is one of the clearest examples. In circumstances where hope seemed lost, he realized that all freedoms can be taken away, except for one: the freedom to choose our attitude in any given situation. Others could force him into hard labor, strip away his physical freedom, but no one could take away his ability to choose how he faced his suffering. It was this victory over himself, this victory of the mind, that allowed Frankl not only to survive, but also to find meaning in his suffering. And this is what Zen teaches: return to observe every thought, every emotion, every wave inside yourself. Do not let them control you. Let them pass like clouds drifting across the sky. The one who can master their mind remains at peace even in storms, while the one who cannot control themselves feels restless even in calm. To conquer yourself also means to live true to your deepest values, refusing to betray yourself for short-term gain. Every time we tell a small lie, every time we secretly act against our conscience, we lose to ourselves. And the price is the silent torment inside. But every time we choose honesty, kindness, and courage, even if it costs us something externally, we grow stronger within. we stand taller, steadier, freer. That is true victory, not one that needs drums and trumpets. Not one that the world must applaud, but a victory that brings lasting strength. Because it does not depend on anyone else. When we master ourselves, we truly master life. From that moment, we walk our path as free beings, no longer dragged around by greed, anger, or ignorance, but holding the oars of our own lives with calm and clarity. Conquering yourself, in daily life, is sometimes simpler than we imagine. Think of someone facing a surge of anger. When insulted or criticized, the natural instinct pushes them to react immediately, to fight back, to prove themselves right. But if, in that very moment, they can pause, take a deep breath, and observe the anger rising inside, they will see it for what it is, like a dark cloud passing by. It comes, and it goes. It never stays forever. And by not being swept away by that cloud, they remain calm, avoiding words or actions that they would later regret. That is a quiet but profound victory, the victory over one's own anger. Or take another example. Someone trying to give up a harmful habit, staying up too late, overeating, or wasting hours on meaningless distractions. Every day they're tempted. But each time they resist, choosing a glass of water over a can of beer, choosing a page of a book over an endless scroll of videos, they take one step further on the path of self-mastery. No one applauds them, no one praises them, but deep inside, they feel stronger, freer, because the greatest victories are never loud. They happen quietly in the smallest daily choices. Conquering yourself also shows up when we remain faithful to our values. When faced with the chance to earn money through dishonest means, we choose to walk away. When swept into a crowd that blindly follows what is wrong, we choose to stay truthful when the whole world is running. We calmly keep walking at our own pace. In those moments, we may lose a little in the short term, but we gain a far greater victory, respect for ourselves, peace in our hearts, and a steady foundation for the road ahead. Because if we cannot conquer ourselves, all external victories become hollow. But if we can, then even in outward failure, we remain victors within, and when we live with that spirit, we are truly unshakable, because nothing outside can bring us down when the inside is strong enough to stand firm. Conquering yourself does not only come through daily choices. It is also cultivated through the practice of meditation, especially zazen, or seated meditation in Zen. At first glance, sitting still seems like doing nothing, but in reality, it is facing the greatest enemy, the endless stream of thoughts in our own minds. When we first sit down, we notice the mind overflowing, yesterday's memories, tomorrow's plans, worries, fears, joys, regrets, all appearing like an endless train. If we have never trained, we will immediately be carried away by each train, without even realizing it. But in the silence of zazen, we learn to observe them. We begin to see that we are not our thoughts, we are the observer. In that moment, a distance is created between us and the mind. And that distance is freedom. Because if we are still dragged around by thoughts, then a thought of anger will turn us into an angry person, a thought of fear into a coward, a thought of greed into someone enslaved by desire. But when we observe without identifying with them, we remain calm, clear, and in that moment, we conquer ourselves. This is not a loud victory, but a quiet, persistent conquest. Every minute we sit down, allowing the breath to bring us back to the present, is a minute we sharpen our inner strength. Like a warrior sharpening his sword in silence, no one sees. But when the battle comes, the blade is steady and sharp. Those who practice meditation regularly can see it clearly. They are no longer quick to anger when attacked, no longer despair when facing failure, no longer shaken when life changes, because they have learned to master their own minds. Conquering yourself through meditation is the foundation of every other victory. Once we master the mind, the external world can no longer control us. Even if everything around us is in chaos, we still carry an island of peace within, and that is the ultimate victory, the victory that makes us free in our own lives. Instead of slaves to impulses, emotions, or circumstances, conquering yourself also carries a deeper meaning, living true to your core values. Even when it means facing loss or disadvantage in the short term. The greatest betrayal is not betraying others, it is betraying yourself. Every time we act against our conscience, even if no one knows, we know, and that knowledge never lets us go. It becomes a crack that slowly eats away at our inner peace. On the other hand, when we choose truth, when we choose kindness, when we choose courage, we may lose some benefits on the outside, but we win something far greater: inner peace, self-respect, and a lasting strength that no one can take away. Imagine a businessperson who has the chance to make a fortune through a shady deal. If they give in to temptation, they may become rich quickly. But at night they will toss and turn, unable to look themselves in the eye. But if they refuse, they may lose money, but they gain something far more valuable: trust in themselves. And that trust is the true foundation for long-term happiness. Or picture an employee in a workplace pressured to follow the crowd in doing something wrong. If they remain silent or even speak up for what is right, they may be criticized, even isolated, but in that moment, they grow within themselves. When a person can stand firm against all pressures, refusing to betray themselves for small gains, that is a true victor. Because defeating others lasts only for a moment, but defeating yourself lasts for a lifetime. Conquering yourself is not a tense struggle. It is a return, a persistence, a choice made again and again. Each honest word, each kind action, each time we dare to do the right thing even when it is hard, all accumulate into a great strength, a lasting freedom. And when we live true to our values, no longer torn between what we should do and what we desire to do, we feel a deep serenity, an unshakable trust that we are on the right path. That is the greatest victory of all, conquering yourself. To fully become yourself. The fifth principle in Zen Buddhism may sound paradoxical, but it carries immense power. Live as if you have already succeeded. This does not mean pretending, putting on a mask of achievement, or living in illusions to fool yourself. It means recognizing the wholeness that is already within you, that in this very moment, you are complete, you are enough, and you do not need to wait for some distant tomorrow to allow yourself to be happy. Normally, people think, when I reach that goal, when I have that amount of money, when I find the perfect partner, when I am finally recognized, then I can be joyful, then I can enjoy life. But the paradox is this: the more we place happiness in the future, the more we lose it in the present. Zen teaches, you are already enough. Right now, you can strive, You can make efforts, but do everything from a place of wholeness. From a state of fullness, not from a sense of lack. Think of someone who loves to cook. They do not cook to become famous, nor to be praised, but simply for the joy of creating, of offering delicious food to others. And it is precisely that completeness, present in each slice of the knife, in every sprinkle of seasoning, that turns the meal into a work of art. Strangely enough, those who live this way, working from joy, from a sense of fullness, are often the ones whom both recognition and success naturally come to. As an effortless consequence, to live as if you have already succeeded means that your actions no longer come from fear of not being enough, but from love for what you do. It is when the artist paints not to sell, but to tell the story of the soul. It is when the teacher teaches not to be praised, but to share knowledge. It is when the worker labors silently not to compare with anyone else, but to feel the joy in each drop of sweat. And these are the people who radiate a special energy, an energy that effortlessly attracts opportunities, love, and recognition. Living as if you have already succeeded is not a destination. It is a state of being, a state of knowing that you are already whole, already complete, and everything you strive for is simply an expression of that fullness in the world. When we live with that spirit, success is no longer a trophy to be won. It becomes a breath, a step, a simple smile each day. In fact, many examples in life show us the power of this principle. Think of the great artists. They did not begin creating just to earn money or fame, but simply because they could not create. Music, painting, or literature was their very breath, their lifeblood. Van Gogh painted in poverty, in loneliness, unrecognized by the world, but every brushstroke burned with pure love for color and light. He passed away with no fame in his hands, yet his legacy became an endless source of inspiration for humanity. Or think of Steve Jobs. As a young man, he did not start Apple because he wanted to be a billionaire, but because of his burning passion for technology and beauty. He once said, "The only way to do great work is to love what you do." And it was that love, that fullness in living with passion, that transformed Apple from a small garage project into one of the most influential companies in the world. What do they have in common? They did not wait for recognition to live like successful people. They lived, created, and worked from inner fullness. Outer success was only the natural fruit, not the ultimate goal. Even in our ordinary lives, this principle applies. A devoted teacher does not need to wait until students win international awards to feel fulfilled. Their joy lies in the curious eyes, the smiles of understanding when a lesson becomes clear. A mother caring for her family does not need public recognition to feel meaningful. Her fulfillment is already present in each warm meal, each moment of love. When we live like this, we succeed in every moment, without waiting for some distant milestone. And when we stop obsessing over the destination, the journey becomes light. Strangely enough, the very things we once longed for often arrive unexpectedly, like gifts from life. That is the paradox of Zen. The less we need to prove we are successful, the more success comes naturally. Because true success is not found in outer applause, but in living fully and abundantly within. In our personal lives, the principle of living as if you have already succeeded becomes even more practical and close to the heart. How many of us keep dreaming, "Only when I buy a big house will I feel at peace"? Only when I find the perfect partner will I be happy. Only when I achieve that title will I feel truly confident. And so, we postpone joy, delay happiness to a distant tomorrow, while the present is wasted in worry and waiting. But Zen teaches a different way. Live as if you already have it all. Right here, right now. This does not mean giving up goals. It means no longer tying your happiness to external conditions. If you want peace tomorrow, start by breathing deeply today and realizing peace is already in each breath. If you want true love, begin by living and loving yourself now, for only when you feel worthy and whole can you attract a healthy relationship. If you want success in your career, dedicate yourself fully to your current work, as if it is already your greatest passion. And from that energy, new opportunities will open in surprising ways. Living as if you have already succeeded is not about pretending. It is a conscious choice, choosing to walk with dignity, choosing gratitude over complaint, choosing to savor the simple things we once overlooked. A sunrise, a warm cup of tea, a heartfelt conversation. Each of these can be proof of fullness if we are truly present. And strangely enough, when our mindset shifts, the world around us shifts too. Opportunities appear. Good people come into our lives. And what we once longed for arrives naturally. Because the universe works like a mirror. When we live in lack, we only see more lack. But when we live as if we already have, already are enough, we receive more than we ever imagined. That is the secret of this principle. True success is not a final destination. It is how we choose to live each day, in every breath, every glance, every action. And when we live as if we have already succeeded, we realize we no longer need to chase happiness. Happiness has been walking with us all along. In Zen, when speaking of living as if you have already succeeded, the masters often use beautiful metaphors to remind us that wholeness has always been within us. It is only that we forget. Because illusions and distractions cloud our vision. Imagine the full moon in the sky. Even when heavy clouds cover it, even when storms hide it from sight, the moon itself remains whole, round, and shining, never disappearing. Only when the clouds clear does the light appear again. But the truth is, it was always there, waiting for us to notice. Life is the same. When we live in a sense of lack, when we tell ourselves, one day, when I achieve this or that, then I will be happy. We are like the person sitting under a cloudy sky, thinking the moon has vanished. But when we learn to live as if we have already succeeded, we realize that fullness is already within us. And all external success is simply a reflection of that inner abundance. Those who live this way are no longer trapped in the illusion of having to outshine others, of reaching milestone after milestone just to feel valuable. They know their worth does not lie in medals or titles, but in their presence in each action they take. A farmer sowing seeds with mindfulness, a craftsman pouring spirit into every creation, a mother offering love in each meal. These people are already successful in that very moment, because they are living true to their authentic selves. Zen teaches that when you drink a cup of tea with mindfulness, you drink the whole sky, the clouds, and the earth within it. Success is the same. It is not somewhere far away, it is right here, in each action, in each moment. And when we deeply understand this, all pressure to prove ourselves, to run, to compete, simply dissolves. We begin to walk lightly, freely, And it is precisely this freedom that radiates an energy so powerful that external success naturally finds its way to us. For the universe always reflects the state of our hearts. When we live as if we are abundant, everything around us also becomes abundant. That is the profound secret of this principle, the secret that helps us stop chasing what we think we lack, and realize that everything has already been here, right now. The sixth principle in Zen Buddhism is this: be grateful for what you have. In modern life, we are often trapped in the cycle of not enough. If we own a house, we want a bigger one. If we have a stable job, we want a higher title. If we buy the latest phone, within months we crave the newer version. And so, our minds are constantly leaning into the future, busy comparing, busy chasing what is not yet here, while what we already have goes unnoticed. Zen reminds us, happiness does not come from what we long for, but from recognizing the value of what already exists. When we eat a meal, let us truly be grateful for the grains of rice that endured sun and rain. Grateful for the farmers who tilled the soil. Grateful for the earth and sky that nourished them, so that we could have a bowl of rice on our table. When we drink a sip of water, let us remember it is the gift of clouds, of rain, of rivers, of the vast systems and countless hands that brought it to us. When we take a deep breath, let us be thankful for the fresh air, for the green forests, for the oceans that keep our atmosphere alive so we can breathe. Gratitude is the art of turning the ordinary into the extraordinary, of transforming simple life into a priceless treasure. Many people think they must achieve something grand before they can feel grateful. But Zen teaches that the greatest miracles are hidden in the smallest of things. To wake up in the morning and see the sun, to hear the birds singing, that is already a miracle. To return home in the evening and find someone waiting, a warm light glowing, a hot meal on the table, that is a happiness countless others long for their entire lives. And when we practice gratitude, our minds instantly change. From feeling poor, we feel rich. From complaining, we feel blessed. From anxiety, we find peace again. Modern psychology also confirms this. Studies show that practicing daily gratitude, for example, writing down 3 things you are thankful for before bed, can make you more optimistic, help you sleep better, and bring more lasting happiness. This is why people who live with gratitude often radiate a special energy. They do not need to boast. They do not need to show off. But the contentment in their eyes, the serenity in their smiles, makes everyone around them feel warmth. Because gratitude is the shortest road to happiness. Happiness is not a promise for tomorrow. It is here, in this moment, waiting only for us to pause and say, "Thank you." There is a story of a successful man. He had a large house, a fine car, a stable job, yet inside, he always felt restless, always felt lacking. Every day he thought, if only I had a bigger house, more money, a more luxurious trip, then I would finally be happy. One day, during a charity trip to a remote mountain village, he met a little boy. The boy wore old clothes, his bare feet covered in mud. But when he received a small pair of shoes from the volunteers, his entire face lit up with the brightest smile. That smile stunned the man. In that moment, he realized that while he had everything yet still felt lacking, the boy who had almost nothing could still radiate pure gratitude for a simple gift. From that day on, The man began writing down 3 things he was grateful for each day. At first, it was hard, because his mind was so used to focusing on what he did not have. But slowly, he began to notice the simple treasures: a hot meal, returning home safely at the end of the day, the hug of his little daughter. The more grateful he became, the richer his life felt. And he realized, happiness does not come from how much we have, but from how much we can see the value of what is already here. Zen teaches, gratitude is the key that opens the door to peace. When we are grateful, we stop the endless race of comparison. We stop looking upward to see what we lack, and start looking inward to see how fortunate we already are. A bowl of rice, a roof overhead, a loved one sitting beside us, each is a miracle. And when our hearts overflow with gratitude, not only does life appear more beautiful, but we also radiate an energy that warms everyone around us. That is why people who live with gratitude are often so beloved. They are like small candles, shining on their own, yet also lighting the way for others. Gratitude does not make difficulties disappear, but it gives us the strength to walk through them with a peaceful smile. And then we realize, we were never lacking. We had only forgotten to say, thank you, for the simple but priceless gifts all around us. Today, even modern science confirms what Zen masters have taught for thousands of years. Gratitude is not only a spiritual virtue, but also a powerful medicine for body and mind. Many psychological studies show that those who regularly practice gratitude, such as keeping a daily gratitude journal, or simply closing their eyes to recall 3 things they feel thankful for, report higher levels of happiness, greater optimism, and lower levels of anxiety and depression compared to those who do not. Doctors even note that gratitude can improve sleep, lower blood pressure, strengthen the immune system, and help people live longer. Why is this so? Because when we practice gratitude, the brain releases positive neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, which make us feel joyful and calm. Gratitude also regulates the heartbeat and breath, guiding the body into a natural state of relaxation. Gratitude is like a lamp. It lights up even the darkest corners of our hearts. It frees us from obsession with what we lack, allowing us instead to treasure what is already here. Imagine this. One person wakes up in the morning, rushing out the door, filled with stress and worry. Another person, waking up in the same circumstances, pauses for just a few minutes to breathe deeply and whisper, "Thank you. Because today I am still alive. I still have the chance to begin again." That second person steps into the world with entirely different energy, calm, light, and often because of that, life responds with more kindness. Zen teaches, when you plant a seed of gratitude, you harvest a field of peace. Science agrees. Gratitude not only changes emotions in the moment, but reshapes the very structure of the brain, training it toward long-lasting positivity. This means that if we nurture gratitude each day, over time we truly become different people, rich not in possessions, but in a constant sense of abundance. And that inner abundance becomes a magnet, drawing in even more goodness. For this universe works by a simple law. When we say, "Thank you," we open the door to receive more. When we complain, the door closes. Gratitude or complaint, that choice decides whether we walk in light or in darkness. There is a beautiful Zen story about gratitude. One evening, A master and his disciple were caught in heavy rain while crossing a forest. They found a small woodcutter's hut and asked for shelter. The poor man had nothing but a bowl of cold rice. Yet he split it and shared it with them. The next morning, as they were leaving, the disciple turned back and saw his master bowing deeply before the shabby hut. Surprised, he asked, "Master, it is only an old, broken hut. Why do you bow to it as if it were a temple?" The master smiled. "Because last night it gave us shelter from the rain. Because its poor owner shared food with us. We must be grateful, and gratitude makes no distinction between big and small." This story reminds us that gratitude is not measured by material value, but by the attitude of treasuring every gift, no matter how small. To be grateful is to see an entire spring within a single wildflower by the roadside. It is to feel the warmth of humanity in the simple smile of a stranger. It is to realize how wealthy we are just by having legs to walk, eyes to see, and ears to hear. In the light of gratitude, every ordinary thing becomes extraordinary. A small stone can move us, because we know it was once part of a mountain, shaped by thousands of years of wind and rain. A drop of rain on the hand becomes a treasure, because we know it was once a cloud, a river, an ocean. When we live with gratitude, we live in intimate connection with all things. Loneliness and lack vanish, because we recognize that everything is supporting us. And the miracle is, the more grateful we are, the richer we feel, not rich in possessions, but rich in the sense that life has already given us more than we imagined. That is the transformative power of gratitude. It turns poverty into fullness, hardship into lessons, life itself into a priceless gift we receive each day. Gratitude for what we have is not just a beautiful idea to reflect on. It is a practice to cultivate every single day. Because the human mind forgets easily, it is always drawn to what is missing. Without training, we slide back into habits of complaint and comparison. There are simple ways to practice gratitude, and Zen teaches us to begin with the smallest things. Each morning, before rushing into work, we can sit quietly for a few minutes, breathe deeply, and say to ourselves, "Thank you. Because today I am alive. I can still breathe, still love, still learn." Just one simple sentence is enough to start the day with positive energy. At night, before sleeping, instead of letting the mind spin with worries, we can write down 3 things from the day we are grateful for. At first, it may feel difficult, but little by little, we will see that every day is full of reasons to be thankful. A cool glass of water, a kind greeting, a moment of rest, a heartfelt conversation. Writing them down is like planting seeds of joy in the mind, and those seeds grow into peace and happiness. Throughout the day, we can also practice gratitude with mindful breathing. When drinking water, silently thank the stream. When eating rice, silently thank the earth and sky. When meeting someone, silently thank them for their presence in our life. These small practices, done consistently, will slowly transform the way we see life. Instead of viewing it as a burden, we see it as a gift. Instead of feeling poor, we feel abundant. And when we live in that spirit, every relationship, every task, every experience becomes lighter and deeper. Even in hardship, gratitude sustains us. We are thankful for challenges that strengthen us, for failures that teach us, for losses that help us value what remains. In this way, Gratitude is no longer just words. It becomes a way of living, a way that allows us to be calm in ups and downs, to smile in the face of change, to find light even in darkness. That is the miraculous power of this principle. The more grateful we are, the more complete life feels. And when we live in that completeness, happiness is no longer something to chase, it is something we already have. The seventh principle that Zen Buddhism emphasizes may sound contradictory at first: try less, accomplish more. From childhood, we are taught that to succeed, we must push ourselves to the limit, work harder than others, and strain every nerve. And effort is indeed necessary. But the problem comes when effort is filled with tension, with a forced mindset, with fear of failure. The more we push in this way, the more exhausted we become, and the less likely we are to achieve what we want. Zen offers another approach. Work with full presence, with relaxation, with joy in every action, instead of fighting against life. Think of a gardener. He cannot command a seed to sprout, nor pull the stem to make it grow faster. If he digs up the soil every day to check whether the roots have grown, the plant will surely die. The gardener only needs to do his part, till the soil, sow the seed, water, care for it, and then trust that nature will do the rest. At the right time, the seed will sprout, grow, bloom, and bear fruit. Our lives are the same. When we act with ease, without straining or rushing, our natural energy flows, creativity awakens, and we often achieve far more than we expected. But when we force ourselves beyond our limits, ignoring the body's needs and disrespecting our boundaries, we not only fail to get results, we burn out, lose motivation, and sometimes collapse along the way. Zen calls this the spirit of Wu Wei, not doing nothing, but doing what is necessary in harmony with nature, allowing things to unfold in their own rhythm. Many artists, athletes, and entrepreneurs admit that their highest performance did not come when they forced themselves with tension, but when they relaxed, merged with their work, and entered the state of flow, that timeless zone where everything happens naturally and effortlessly, and results surpass all expectations. Trying less does not mean laziness or giving up. It means resisting yourself less, letting fear control you less, putting less heavy expectation on your shoulders, so you can focus entirely on the present moment. In that state, not only do you work more effectively, but you also find joy in the process. And that joy becomes the energy that carries you forward without exhaustion. That is the secret Zen offers. Sometimes, success does not come from doing more, but from doing less, doing with the right mindset, the right heart, and letting life itself join in the journey. In art, sports, or any field, we can clearly see the strength of this principle. Watch a pianist on stage. If he is too worried about playing perfectly, his fingers stiffen, the melody loses its grace, and the audience feels his strain. But if he relaxes, lets his soul flow with the music, allows his fingers to move naturally like a river, the piece becomes not only precise, but deeply moving. In sports, the same is true. A soccer player straining too hard to score often misses, while the most beautiful goals often come when he relaxes, letting his body move with instincts honed by thousands of hours of training. In work, we experience this as well. Sometimes we pour every ounce of effort into a project, long nights, early mornings, stress until we are drained, yet the outcome disappoints. But then, a breakthrough idea arrives while walking, sipping tea, or having a relaxed conversation, because the mind, when relaxed, makes space for creativity to emerge. Zen emphasizes, the more we force, the more we close the door to nature, the more we soften, the more wisdom and natural energy reveal themselves. As martial arts masters have said, the victor is not the one who fights with hardness, but the one who becomes soft like water. Water flows gently, never competing, but it can carve stone and pierce mountains. When we learn to work like water, flexible, gentle, yet persistent, we accomplish more without exhaustion. In daily life, this principle is just as powerful. Instead of trying to control everything, we simply do our best in what is ours to do. Then trust that life will carry us where we need to be. Trying less does not mean doing fewer tasks, but carrying less unnecessary weight. Accomplishing more does not mean we are lazy, but that we allow clarity, naturalness, and the flow of the universe to work with us. This is the path to sustainable success, light yet steady, humble yet profound, natural yet complete. In truth, this Zen principle of try less, accomplish more, has deep ties with the Taoist spirit of Wu Wei. Wu Wei does not mean passivity or inaction. It means acting in harmony with nature, without forcing, without fighting the natural flow of life. The ancients compared it to water, soft, humble, flowing toward the low places, never competing, yet powerful enough to wear down mountains and nourish all living things. Those who live with the spirit of Wu Wei know how to act when action is needed, and how to stop at the right time, leaving the rest to nature, to time, to destiny. Like a potter shaping clay, he molds, he crafts, but once it goes into the kiln, he cannot force it into pottery instantly. He must let fire and time do their work. If he rushes, the piece will crack. Life is the same. We often fall into the trap of impatience, always wanting immediate results, always wanting to prove ourselves with quick success. But that very impatience robs us of both joy and effectiveness. Zen teaches, let go of forcing, work with a calm heart. Let results come like flowers blooming in spring, naturally, in their own time. When we live this way, each action is no longer a struggle, but a harmony with the rhythm of the universe. And the paradox is clear: the less we force, the more we achieve, because we no longer waste energy on fear, worry, or control, but pour our full spirit into the present. A writer sitting down with the mindset of, I must create a masterpiece, will find the pen heavy and the ideas dry. But if they simply breathe, relax, and let the words flow naturally, the writing comes alive, full of truth and power that moves the reader. A person on their career path is the same. When they stop obsessing over beating others, stop competing for status, and instead focus on contributing from the heart, success comes as a natural gift. Wu Wei is the secret of sustainability, acting without attachment, striving without exhaustion, moving forward while remaining light. And when we live this way, we discover that the greatest accomplishment is not in how much we gain, but in walking the journey with peace in the soul, openness in the heart, and unending joy in each moment. The eighth principle in Zen Buddhism is this: give what you wish to receive. Human beings often live in waiting, We wait for others to love us before we dare to love them back. We wait for society to recognize us before we feel confident. We wait for life to give us gifts before we feel grateful. But Zen teaches us a paradox. Be the one to plant the seed first. If you want love, begin by offering love. If you want kindness, begin with a small act of kindness. If you long for joy, smile and bring joy to others. Because this universe operates like a mirror. What we send out will eventually return. Think of a smiling face in a crowd. Just one smile can soften other faces, warm other eyes, and change the entire atmosphere. Like throwing a pebble into a pond. The ripples spread outward, and eventually circle back. In relationships, this principle is especially clear. Many complain, "No one understands me, no one cares for me." Yet they forget, how long has it been since they truly listened to someone else? When you open your heart to listen, you do more than comfort another person. You also plant a seed of compassion in the world. And that seed will bloom in your own life, often at the very moment you need it most. The same is true in work. Those who achieve lasting success are not the ones who fight only for themselves, but the ones who share value, lift their teammates, and create opportunities for others. By giving, they gain trust, cooperation, and ultimately, greater success than they could ever achieve alone. Zen teaches us. Giving does not diminish you, it expands you. It is not loss, but planting. A candle that lights another does not lose its flame. Instead, it makes the room brighter. So it is with love. A heart that gives love never becomes poor. On the contrary, it grows richer as it connects with countless other hearts. And the miracle is this: when we give without expectation, that is often when we receive the most. For the greatest gift of giving is not what comes back, it is the transformation within our own soul. We become more open, more peaceful, more free, and that is the deepest happiness. There is a Zen story that captures this beautifully. One day, a poor monk went begging for food, but received nothing except a small scrap of bread. On his way back to the temple, he met a starving child in rags. With pleading eyes, the monk paused, looked at the tiny piece of bread in his hand, and smiled. He broke it in two and gave half to the child. The boy ate it eagerly, then lit up with a radiant smile, shining like the sun on a cold winter day. The monk walked on, still hungry, but with a heart full of joy and lightness. Later, when asked, "Why did you give away what you needed most?" the monk replied, "In that very moment, I received more than I gave. I received joy, warmth, and the realization that I was never truly lacking." That simple story reflects the essence of this principle. Give what you wish to receive. Life moves in circles. When you give love, love finds its way back. When you plant compassion, one day compassion blossoms in your own garden. In daily relationships, this truth is everywhere. If you want your partner to understand you, begin by understanding them. If you want respect from colleagues, be the first to show respect. If you want society to be more compassionate, start with a small act of kindness today. It does not require great deeds. A smile, a greeting, letting someone go ahead in traffic. Small gestures are enough to make the world gentler. And the miracle is, the more we give, the more we receive, not always from the same people we helped, but often from unexpected places. Because the energy we release never disappears. It always finds its way back, by its own path, in its own time. Zen reminds us, give without clinging, give without demanding, for the true reward is not in repayment, but in our own growth. When we give, our hearts expand, our light shines brighter, and the happiness we seek is already present, in the very moment of giving. Interestingly, what Zen has taught for centuries is now confirmed by modern science. Psychologists call this the ripple effect of kindness. When you perform a kind act, whether picking up a dropped bag, giving up a seat on the bus, or simply smiling at a stranger, it not only uplifts the receiver, but also sets off a chain reaction. The receiver, feeling happier, is more likely to pass kindness on to someone else, and that kindness keeps spreading, like ripples across a pond. Research also shows that helping others releases oxytocin, the love hormone, which reduces stress, improves heart health, and creates feelings of connection. At the same time, dopamine, the happiness chemical, is released, bringing lightness and joy. This means that in the very moment of giving, we have already received. We do not need to wait for the future. That is why people who volunteer, who share, who give generously, are often happier, healthier, and live longer. And when a community of people practices this principle, society itself becomes warmer, more compassionate, more human, because each person becomes a link in spreading positive energy. Zen teaches that the universe reflects whatever we sow. If we sow anger, we reap violence. If we sow love, we reap peace. Modern science agrees. Our attitudes and energy directly shape how others respond to us. When we live with open hearts, life responds with openness. When we give what we want to receive, we change not only others, but also ourselves, and the environment around us. In the end, we receive far more than we ever hoped for. And the greatest miracle is this: when we give without expecting anything in return, the reward we receive is not just external love, it is inner completeness, freedom, and happiness. A happiness no one can ever take away. In Zen, there is a beautiful metaphor for giving, the seed. When you hold a handful of seeds in your palm, if you clutch them tightly, they will eventually dry out and never sprout. But if you plant them in the earth, nurture them, and wait with patience, one day they will grow into trees, offering shade, blooming with flowers, bearing fruit, and bringing blessings not only to you, but to countless others. Giving is the same. When we hold back, we keep only a little. But when we sow, entire fields come alive. Zen teaches that whatever we desire, love, understanding, joy, peace, are like seeds. If we only wish to receive without planting, they will never grow. But if we sow with our hearts, sooner or later, flowers will bloom, and fruits will ripen. The one who longs for love should begin by offering a smile, a hug, a kind word. The one who seeks peace should begin by giving peace to others, listening instead of arguing, yielding instead of competing. The one who wishes for joy should begin by planting joy each day with small acts of kindness. And the miracle is this: in the very act of giving, we are already receiving, for the joy of another shines back in their eyes, in their smile, and warms our own heart. Giving is like a river. Water never keeps for itself. It flows, it offers, and by flowing, it stays fresh and pure. A river blocked, no longer flowing, becomes a stagnant pond. slowly turning foul. A heart is the same when it gives. It is full of life when it closes. It withers. That is why, give what you wish to receive, is not just an ethical rule, but the natural law of life itself. The more we give, the richer we become, the more we cling, the poorer we feel. And the greatest gift of giving is not the reward we may one day receive, but the transformation in the very moment we give. We become more generous, more peaceful, more free, and we realize that happiness was never far away. It has always been present, hidden within the act of giving itself. The ninth principle of Zen Buddhism is this: focus on the journey, not only the destination. Modern life conditions us to place happiness at the end of a long road. When I succeed, when I buy the big house, when I meet the perfect partner, when I reach that position, then I will finally be happy. But in truth, when all of our attention is fixed on that distant goal, we miss the precious moments happening along the way. Zen reminds us, the destination is but a fleeting moment, while the journey is where we spend most of our lives. If our path is filled with stress, worry, and resentment, then even when we arrive, the joy will be brief, quickly dissolving into emptiness. Imagine a mountain climber. If his eyes are glued only to the peak, he will miss the whisper of the wind, the scent of grass, the sunlight through the trees, the music of the stream. He may reach the summit, but the journey will have passed in weariness and haste. On the other hand, the one who savors each step, who pauses to breathe, to admire the view, may walk more slowly, but every step is already a part of happiness. Life is the same. Each day is not a meaningless stop on the way to some final destination, it is life itself. When we focus on the journey, we learn to be present in each moment, to find joy in the very act we are doing. A chef finds happiness not only when the dish is served, but in the chopping of vegetables, the stirring of flavors. An artist finds happiness not only when the painting is exhibited, but in each stroke of the brush. A parent finds happiness not only in the future success of their child, but in each giggle, each step, each embrace today. When we know how to focus on the journey, life is no longer a stressful race, but a colorful adventure. And the paradox is this: when we let go of obsession with the goal, the results often come faster and more beautifully, because all of our energy is poured into the present. Zen teaches, happiness is not at the end of the road, it is in every step. When we embrace this principle, we stop living like restless runners chasing a finish line, and instead walk like pilgrims, savoring each curve, each scene, each breath. The destination no longer matters as much, because we realize that the journey itself is the greatest gift life could give us. There was once a marathon runner who shared this story. When he first began training, he was obsessed with the finish line. Every step carried the thought, how far is it? When will I reach it? And because of that, he often felt exhausted, discouraged, ready to give up. One day, his coach told him, do not think about the finish line. Focus only on the step before you. Feel your breath, listen to your heartbeat, let your body merge with each mile, each moment. He practiced this, and to his surprise, the race became lighter. He enjoyed every stretch of the road, every cheer from the crowd, every encouraging glance from fellow runners. And strangely, once he stopped obsessing over the finish line, he reached it faster, stronger, and with far more joy. Life is like a marathon. If we only stare at the finish lines, graduation, promotion, buying a house, marriage, we will miss countless beautiful moments along the way. A quiet morning, a warm meal, a heartfelt conversation. These too are finish lines. Small rewards scattered along the journey. Zen teaches, no journey is meaningless. Each new lesson, each stumble, each deep breath is already a step forward into the heart. If we only look toward the final destination, life becomes a long, exhausting wait. But if we learn to savor the road, then even before reaching the end, we have already succeeded. For true success is not a point in the distance, but the ability to find meaning in every step. Like a climber who does not ascend only to stand on the peak, but to feel each slope, each gust of wind, each wildflower on the path. And when we live with that spirit, every day, every moment, becomes a part of happiness, not a pause before happiness, but happiness itself. The 10th principle of Zen Buddhism is this: simplify to be free. We often think that the more we have, the happier we will be. More money, more possessions, more relationships, more experiences. Yet the more we accumulate, the heavier we feel, the more entangled our hearts become. To simplify does not mean to abandon everything, to live in hardship, or to escape from life. It means to keep only what is truly necessary, and let go of what is excessive, what clutters our space and our minds. Imagine carrying a backpack up a mountain. If it is full of useless things, every step becomes heavy. Your legs quickly tired. But if you bring only what is essential, the climb becomes lighter, freer, and you can go much farther. Life is the same. If we keep filling our homes with luxuries, our minds with complicated relationships, our hearts with endless expectations, we soon collapse under the weight. Zen reminds us, happiness is not about how much we have, but how little we need to feel enough. A simple room with a few cherished belongings can bring more peace than a mansion crowded with luxuries. A few true friends can bring more warmth than 100 shallow connections. A slow day, time to breathe, read a page, sip a cup of tea, can bring more fulfillment than a schedule packed with meetings and deadlines. Simplifying also means letting go of inner burdens, releasing grudges, releasing worries of the future, releasing the unnecessary pressures we put on ourselves. When we simplify, we free energy for what truly matters: love, creativity, presence. And the miracle is, when we carry less, we gain more freedom, more peace, more genuine joy, like a lake that only becomes clear when the water is still. Our hearts become bright only when they are free of clutter. That is why Zen teaches, happiness is not in adding more, but in letting go. The simpler we live, the freer we are. The freer we are, the more deeply we find peace. There was once a wealthy merchant who spent his entire life working tirelessly to accumulate possessions. His house was vast, filled with precious objects, yet in his heart he always felt restless. Every night, he hired guards to watch over his home, fearing that thieves might break in. Every time he traveled, he worried that his fortune might be stolen. One day, he met a Zen master and confessed, "I have everything, yet I have never known peace in my heart." The Zen master smiled and handed him a small cloth bag with a single stone inside. The master said, "From now on, whenever you feel heavy in your heart, Try letting go of one unnecessary possession, and instead place this stone in your mind, to remind you that happiness is not found in what you accumulate, but in the simplicity within. The merchant was doubtful, but he tried. On the first day, he gave away an ancient vase that had only ever been used for display. On the second day, he let go of an extravagant robe he had never worn. On the third day, he cleared out a room filled with useless things. Day by day, as the house grew more spacious, his heart grew lighter. Eventually, he realized that happiness did not come from the number of objects surrounding him, but from having the space to breathe, to live, and to smile. This story shows us clearly. The complexity outside reflects the clutter within. When we simplify life, we also simplify the soul. It is no coincidence that sages and Zen masters often live in small huts, with only a few humble possessions. Yet their eyes shine with clarity and their smiles radiate peace. They have discovered that freedom does not come from having more, but from carrying less. To simplify for freedom is not only to rearrange a house, but to rearrange the mind, letting go of the need to compete, to compare, to constantly prove ourselves to the world. When we release these burdens, our hearts open wide like the sky, and we realize we have been enough all along. This simplicity is the foundation of lasting happiness, not dependent on outside conditions, but rooted in inner freedom. And once we taste that freedom, we see that life does not require much to be complete. In our modern age, the Zen spirit of simplifying to be free is reflected most clearly in the movement of minimalism. In a world that constantly urges us to buy more, own more, and experience more, minimalism stands as a powerful reminder. Happiness does not come from how much we have, but from how much we truly need. Many people once lived in apartments crammed with possessions, wardrobes overflowing, desks buried in papers, and their minds were just as cluttered. But when they began to tidy up, to let go, to keep only what was truly necessary, a remarkable change happened. Their spaces became brighter, their minds became clearer, and their hearts felt lighter than ever. A simple phone, a modest wardrobe, a room with only the essentials, these small things can open the door to great freedom. For we are no longer slaves to material things, no longer wasting time, money, and energy to maintain what we never really needed. Zen reminds us, in the end, the things we own end up owning us. A large house can become a burden, with debts and endless upkeep. A high-paying job that consumes all of our time can rob us of our youth. A social network full of shallow connections can leave us emotionally exhausted. But when we live simply, we choose quality over quantity, depth over surface, we regain balance and peace. Minimalism is not scarcity, it is sufficiency. Enough to live comfortably, without the excess that only serves to impress. To simplify is also to return to what matters most: time for family, care for health, pursuit of passion, nourishment of the soul. By letting go of the unnecessary, we make space for the truly important. And that is freedom. Freedom from material pressure, freedom from comparison, freedom from invisible burdens that society piles upon us. This is the true freedom Zen points us toward, an ease of being that does not depend on having more, but on letting go and living fully with what is already here. To simplify for freedom is not only about releasing possessions or decluttering our homes. It is also the art of lightening the mind itself. For often, what weighs us down is not the objects around us, but the thoughts piled high within us, the worries unresolved, the memories we hold too tightly. The human mind is like a room. If it is filled with old, dusty things, there is no space left for light and fresh air. In the same way, when we cling to regrets of the past, to grudges we refuse to release, to expectations that overwhelm us, peace cannot enter. To simplify the mind is to learn to choose which thoughts to keep, and let the rest drift away like clouds across the sky. Many of us have the habit of replaying old stories, blaming ourselves, tormenting ourselves, until exhaustion comes not from the present, but from the past we cannot change. The one who knows how to simplify smiles and says, "The past is a lesson, not a burden." In the same way, many of us worry endlessly about the future, imagining worst-case scenarios, making ourselves anxious over what has not yet come. To simplify means to focus on what can be done today, here, now, and let tomorrow arrive in its own time. Zen teaches, be like a still lake. Only when the water is calm can it reflect the blue sky. Our minds are the same. Only when we stop stirring them with endless thoughts can we see the truth clearly. To simplify within is also to let go of comparisons and rivalries. For the greatest fatigue does not come from work, but from measuring ourselves against others. He is richer. She is smarter. They are happier. When we release the need to compare, we return to ourselves. We live according to our own rhythm, our own values, and immediately we feel lighter. The freedom that Zen points toward is not about creating a perfect life, but about simplifying both outside and inside, so that the heart becomes wide and open, ready to embrace each moment. In that state, happiness needs no searching, freedom needs no calling, for both were always within us, simply waiting for us to lay down our burdens so they could reveal themselves. In Zen, there is a very famous story about a scholar visiting a Zen master to ask for guidance. The scholar, well-versed and full of pride, sat down and spoke endlessly about all the things he knew. The Zen master remained silent, pouring tea for his guest. The cup gradually filled, then overflowed, yet the master kept pouring. Alarmed, the scholar exclaimed, "Master, the cup is full. It cannot hold any more." The Zen master calmly replied, "Just like this cup, your mind is already filled with knowledge and prejudice. How can I pour anything new into it? If you wish to learn, you must first empty your cup." That metaphor is the very essence of the principle of simplifying in order to be free. Our mind is like the cup. If it is cluttered with too many thoughts, too many judgments, too many attachments, then there is no room left for freshness, for wisdom, or for happiness to enter. Only when we dare to let go, to pour out what is unnecessary, can we truly receive what is new. Often, complexity does not come from the outside, but from the way we fill ourselves with things we do not need, fears, comparisons, the endless desire to prove ourselves, or to be better than others. Yet when we leave our cup more empty, life suddenly feels more pure, more light-hearted. Simplifying means choosing what truly matters to keep, and having the courage to release the rest. Like a musician composing a song, he does not need thousands of complicated notes. With just a few well-placed, refined notes, the entire piece becomes deep and moving. Or like an ink wash painting, Just a few simple brushstrokes can evoke vast mountains and rivers. Life is the same. The less complicated it is, the more space there is for beauty and freedom. And paradoxically, the simpler life becomes, the more complete we feel. Happiness, after all, has never been about adding more, but about letting go. When we learn the art of emptying our cup, we can fully savor the taste of the tea of life, a taste that is light, pure, and yet profoundly deep. In the end, do you see that all the Zen principles we have walked through, from stopping the struggle against the current, to releasing attachment to results, conquering oneself, practicing gratitude, giving in order to receive, focusing on the path instead of the destination, and finally, simplifying in order to be free, meet at the same point, guiding us back to ourselves, back to the wholeness already present within. Happiness does not lie in some distant tomorrow, nor in external conditions, but in how we live each present moment. Every breath, every step, every smile can become a miracle when seen with awakened eyes. And when we practice these principles, life is no longer a tiring race, but a graceful, complete journey, where each day is already a success, and each moment is already happiness. If today's sharing has brought you even a little peace, a little inspiration, or simply a moment to pause and breathe deeply, then I believe we have planted together a small seed in the soil of your heart. And if you continue to nurture that seed, it will grow into a strong tree, giving shade throughout the path of your life. Please continue to accompany me in the journeys ahead, where we will discover even more stories, practices, and wisdom that can transform the way you see life. You can click the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, not just to receive new videos, but to help us sustain a peaceful garden, a place where each of us can return and rest after the busyness of life. Every subscription, every share of yours is like a small candle, adding light so that this garden can spread further, touching more hearts with the peace we are seeking together. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for walking with me until the very end of this journey. I wish you a truly peaceful and gentle day, and remember, happiness is not far away, but right here, in every breath you are taking now.